This is going to sound like so much hate, and I swear it's not. Welcome back to the Warner Brothas Podcast. I'm Kyle, joined as always by my brother Keenan, joined by our right-hand NFL man, Tim Gray. What's poppin', fellas?
Ever since I can remember, I've been popping my collar. We're all collared shirts today because it's a professional one.
We're all
love it.
Up. Hey, happy NFL Eve to the both of you and to all of our listeners and viewers out there. We're officially 24 hours away, like exactly 24 hours away right now. I love it. Listen, we are continuing our NFL predictions podcast. Cut to the chase here. Bold predictions. You're going to get our Super Bowl picks. You're going to get our regular season awards. You're going to get all that. Honestly, I believe it's going to be bold predictions throughout. I could be wrong, but I think this is going to be one y'all enjoy for sure. How we doing?
Great. Ready to get into it. No need. I'm just ready to go. Ready to go. Timmy, you?
I'm more excited than how I feel. I'm definitely a little sick, but I'm ready for football. I will tough it out for 3 games over the next 4 days. Extremely excited.
This is Tim's flu game right here. This is
my flu game. These are my flu bold predictions. They're just gonna all come true. Every single one of them.
That's exactly.
We're gonna have to hold him up. We're gonna have to hold him up mid pod.
Put me in the wheelchair
somehow.
Got the IV.
Alrighty, so I'm going to start with bold predictions, actually. I'm going to start it off with me. Timmy, obviously, I know you start often, but
actually,
we'll let you ease into the game.
Let's get a little preseason, a little warm-up here. It's actually somehow not been brought up at all at any point during our NFL predictions. How do you guys feel about this new kickoff?
I'm really excited for it. I think we didn't see a whole lot in the preseason just because they're not putting out their real teams. But I think it is going to impact games. It's definitely going to impact fantasy football. I think we're going to see an increase. I was actually looking at stats just from like an all-point scoring touchdowns, and I was actually a little shocked by how many receiving and return touchdowns already happened. From punts and kicks, but I think it's going up. I think we're going to see, quite a lot of scoring, which can completely affect games. You might not need to have an offense if you can get a touchdown every month from them.
For sure. Keenan, how you feel?
I think it's going to be a very interesting wrinkle into the game. It's something that I'm interested to see unfold and see how teams strategically go for it. You always think of like maybe Tyreek Hill's now going to be back on more of those because of his massive speed and like players like that. Not like all wide receivers because I couldn't picture Jamar Chase maybe getting one, like at least a kickoff that is because of obviously just the physicality of it. But players like Tyreek Hill, some of your faster guys are going to be back there. Maybe they can make a true impact on the game that they wouldn't be able to prior. Obviously Tyreek Hill can make an impact, of course, but some of these lesser guys.
Like, dislike, or indifferent about it, would you say?
I would be more towards the like for me.
I definitely like it. I think kickoffs have been so boring for the last 5 to 10 years. I feel like every playoff game has started with a touchback for the last 10 years. It's just a play in the game that didn't matter and no team ever paid attention to it. Now you have to pay attention to it. It's going to be very important. So I'm extremely excited about it.
It's one of those things to where, like, either get rid of the kickoff entirely and just have everybody start at the 25 every time, unless you are doing an onside kick, which then obviously you're just taking out the surprise of it. Not that really much is a surprise anymore, but either do that or do something like this to where the kickoff actually means more than just a touchback.
Well, now I believe with the new rules, you have to declare if you're doing an onside kick.
Yeah,
you can only do it when you're behind in the fourth quarter, I believe, is the rule now.
Oh.
Like, it can't
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you cannot do it quarters 1 through 3. Like, there's no such thing as a onside or surprise onside kick anymore. So, yeah, you do have to declare, and I believe if it's not only the fourth quarter, you have to be at least like 2 touchdowns down in the second half. And I'm pretty sure it's only the fourth quarter. Myself, I'm indifferent about it. It looks very gimmicky. I didn't even realize it was up for debate. Like, it didn't seem like it was up for discussion after the changes they made over the years. I do agree with you guys. It's gotten kind of, generic. There's a lot of touchbacks. Obviously they moved where they kick from up. And then, added extra incentive with the touchback, moving it from the 20 to the 25. I completely agree with Tim, and I completely agree with Keenan. First, Keenan, with the fact that I think we're going to get more players like Tyreek Hill, more position players, less specialty players on special teams, at least at different points in the game. You might get a Tyreek or a Waddle or someone like that in. And I completely agree with Tim that it's definitely going to affect the scoring. Field position is going to be greatly increased, which is going to lead to at least more field goals, right? For the lesser teams and for the teams who can score, for sure, more touchdowns. So it's going to be interesting. I feel it's still gimmicky, right? It just still looks weird. It still kind of seems silly. I feel like there was other remedies they could do. I'm not sure if this is here to stay. Like, I can't imagine 10 years down the road this is still how we're doing kickoffs. But I am very interested to see how it goes. Who knows? This is something that could very well decide the Super Bowl, right? Decide. Keenan's making gas face. I can only assume Caitlin Clark did something kind of crazy.
No, Leah Boston hit someone with like a half spin and spun the other way and got her. Sorry.
got in touch with her inner Hakeem Olajuwon by the sounds of it.
No, she honestly did. It was a really nice move. I'm
indifferent. I think, like most things in the NFL that I've been opposed to, I'll eventually adjust and still love it all the same. But I don't know. I can definitely see weeks down the line, if not next Monday, us talking about something controversial or something that we like or dislike from this kickoff. So I'm definitely interested to see how it impacts the season. But hey.
Oh yeah, it's definitely going to have something where it has impact. That's the one thing it will have is impact.
Most definitely. Without further ado, do we want to do this draft style? Do we want to go Tim first, then Keenan, then myself? Like, who wants to go first?
I'm going first on the bold prediction.
Keenan,
I want to go first on
it. Let's do it.
All right, my first bold prediction.
By the way, 5.
We're going one each, or am I going through 5?
Your call. You want to do all 5, or you want to go one apiece?
We'll go through all 5 because obviously we're not talking about like the same exact team.
Okay.
So like obviously with Buffalo, we were all talking about Buffalo or whatnot.
For sure.
So I'm gonna go through all
bold
5
predictions here between the 3 of us. All right. So go ahead, Keenan.
Yes. First one. This one be crazy, but Aiden Hutchinson, sack in every game.
So at least 17. At least 17 sacks.
So at least 17 sacks for him this season. A sack in every game.
Seems like some foreshadowing here, Kian.
Jamar Chase, game 1, over 200.
That'll be kind of tough.
And that's week 1.
That'll be kind of tough if he doesn't play.
Oh, he's playing.
I think he'll play. I think he's leaning towards playing.
And that's the thing. He was at practice. So, like, the thing about it is he's going to play, and he's going for 200. And everything about, like, him not being there, just going to shut everybody up. It's going to be like, well, this guy's still really good and fun.
As soon as he gets off the field, they're just going to hand him that contract with every dime that he wants. And they're just going to be like, all right, whatever.
So exactly 200 or 200 plus?
200 plus. I mean, it's always plus, but 200 plus.
If you had to put
Caitlin just had a nice step back 3 and then a behind the back pass for an and 1 for Leah Boston. What was that, Kyle?
If we're gonna put a number on it, give an exact number. 200 what?
223.
Okay.
With a touchdown on like 11 catches against the Patriots, unfortunately. But
let me preface for the newer listeners: when we give bold, they're like they're well thought out. Like you can tell by Keenan's, they're well constructed, but we like half believe them. They're not something we're all the way in on, but maybe they are. And if they are, maybe we'll preface it. But for the most part, they're things that could happen.
So the Aiden Hutchinson one, I'm feeling like that would be extremely tough. It's something that's kind of like, wow, that would be insane. And he's one of the players in the league that could have that kind of impact because I think he's that good. The Jamar Chase one, I truly believe can happen. Like, I truly believe he can play week 1, and I truly believe it's going to be one of those things where, like, they come out almost to make a statement. And they're like, Joe Burrow's like, I'm really here, I'm back. And Jamar Chase is like, contract or not, I'm still him. And so that's why I think that one's going to happen. But this next one I think could happen, and it's very interesting.
Let's hear it.
Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry dual 130-plus rushing yard games.
Could see it.
Same game.
I could see it.
So that'd be 260 between the both of them, which would be insane. And obviously both of them having above 130 would be crazy as is. So that would be they'd be rushing for over 300 as a team, you would assume, and it could be one of those games where they just control the entire game.
For sure.
Alrighty.
Good to see it. I like that one.
My fourth one, Bijan Robinson will have a combined 2,500 yards this season.
Okay.
Which would be the most ever for a back. Christian McCaffrey was close. Marshawn Falk was close. Oh, did I say Marshawn? Marshall Falk was close. What am I doing? Marshawn Falk.
Marshawn Falk.
Marshawn Falk would have been the best back of all time. If you gave Marshall Falk Marshawn Lynch's bruiser mentality, he would have been the best back to ever live.
We've got Marshawn Falk and Beja Wilson that we came up with now.
And Beja Wilson's one of the most hilarious things. Beja Wilson. And then the fifth one, Patrick Mahomes will have 3 straight games of 5+ touchdowns thrown.
Oof. Bold.
Those are the bold predictions.
Bold if there's ever been bold. Okay.
Bold predictions for me.
I like them all. I actually think out of all of them, Keenan, I think that last one is the boldest. 15 touchdowns in a 3-game stretch. Could happen.
No, that I would say that's the boldest, honestly.
Tim,
either that or Aiden Hutchinson a sack in every game, because that's like an insane thing to do.
That's an insane pace.
But,
and then on top of that, you got to figure he would have like maybe, 4 to 6 multiple sack games. So he could smash the sack record easily.
At least a sack and a half. He's going to average close to 2.
Yeah, I was going to say he's close to averaging 2 for the season if that's the
28 sack season.
Yeah. Alrighty. Timmy or Kyle, who wants to go next with their bold predictions?
Timmy G, go ahead.
Got you.
Timmy G.
I'm gonna ease into them. So my first one, Sauce Gardner is gonna have a 4-pick game. It's gonna come December. Let me get the exact date. I'm calling my shot. December 15th. They play the Jets. They are the Jets. They play the Jags.
Inter squad.
Trevor Lawrence, 4-pick game. Sauce is going off. This is it right here. They're the downfall.
Leaning into the Jags' downfall. Is this the game that Doug Peterson gets fired to?
Oh, I think he'll be long gone by then. I think Trevor Lawrence is just going to be showing us why he doesn't deserve the $255 million.
So how many picks total for Trevor? All 4 just go to Sauce? Is that what it is?
Just 4, just a Sauce. It's going to be great to see. The announcer's going to go nuts on the 3rd one, and then the 4th one's just going to break the stream.
That's like
Is Tom Brady going to be on the cast?
I don't know.
That's like the Peyton Manning game. That's like the Peyton Manning game where he threw 3 to Ty Law in the AFC Championship.
I think Eli threw 4 to D'Angelo Hall, or at least 3 to D'Angelo Hall one game randomly.
Definitely sounds like Eli.
Fun call out. I think it was 4 to D'Angelo Hall, but if I'm not mistaken, but I know it definitely was 3. All right, go on with your number 2.
All right, my next one. This one kind of hurts me. I have Dak Prescott is going to play incredibly well, be similar to last year, how he is in like top 5 in MVP voting, but the Cowboys are going to let him walk. Jerry Jones is going to not want to pay him. He's going to go somewhere else. I don't know where, but I just have Dak Prescott leaves in free agency after a damn near MVP season.
That's crazy.
Hey, you called your shot?
That would be crazy, because that would be that situation for it would make it crazy.
100%.
You called your shot. Give us the top 3 team targets then. That'll be after Dak.
Ooh. I'm gonna have to come back to you. I was gonna say the Giants, but I kind of have other things in here about the Giants later on.
That would
I could see it if the Giants move on from Daniel Jones. Dak Prescott is a proven guy. He's a interdivision guy. Like that would be a big signing for them to go out and make. I could see the Saints doing it. I don't think they're gonna have the capital to go get a quarterback, or maybe they will. But either way, they just don't have a lot of money, so I think that's a problem right there.
Could I say a couple teams myself that I think?
Sure.
I think the Raiders absolutely could be in the ballpark for it. I think the Broncos could be in the ballpark for it. And then, honestly, the third one, I could see the Jets being in the ballpark for it, all depending on what Aaron Rodgers does.
If Aaron's not the guy.
Because if Aaron could could easily retire after the season. So I think that all three of those teams would absolutely take Dak because the Jets feel like they're a ready-made team now. You add a quarterback like Dak, especially if he's coming off a borderline MVP season. And then obviously the Raiders, same thing. Devontae would be very happy with that. And then you have the Broncos who have been looking for a quarterback since Peyton Manning. So
I dig it. All right, the next one, I got Derrick Henry, 18 rushing touchdowns, but he only accumulates 800 total yards. They are not giving him touches. They're just going to give them to him at the goal line. He's going to score a lot.
That's got to say
exactly.
Jerome Bettis.
Jerome Bettis.
This is old 30-year-old Derrick Henry. They're not looking to get him hurt week 3 because they gave him 25 carries. I think they're going to dull him down, but valuable carries. He's going to be great for touchdowns. That's a big one. All right, and then I got Patrick Mahomes is going to tie the single-game touchdown record. 7 touchdowns, similar to Keenan on the high touchdown games. I think he's going to have a 7. I think it's going to come against the Bills. I think they're just going to get into a shootout, and then
he blacks the fuck
There's
out.
a bunch of points. Yeah, and he wins me a damn fantasy championship. That's what I'm hoping for. And then this final one, it kind of cuts off my game pick, but Jared Goff is going to be the NFL MVP this year. He's going to take a step forward.
He combined the awards with the bold prediction. Okay.
I don't hate it. I truly don't actually hate that because if you're 12-5, 13-4, you're not getting touched. He's 34 touchdowns to 7 picks, 4,600 yards.
Yep. I think he'll be right there.
We've seen crazy. Matt Ryan won an MVP that way.
You got the stat line, or are we going with that when we announce our awards?
I don't have a stat line for you. Okay. It's going to be good enough. I think it could be a subjective award where somebody has better stats, but they just have more wins. Like if this team finishes 14-3, I don't think that's crazy to say that they could do that. If they do finish 14-3 and he's, second in yards and touchdowns, I think they could give it to him just because.
Okay. And when we get back to MVP, obviously we can talk about if you have stats by that point too. But sure. I like them. I like them a lot. Kyle,
I feel some pressure. Both of those, we got 10 bold ass predictions right here. So I feel pressure with my 15 or with my 5 to add to this 15. We'll start off though. Amon-Ra St. Brown, back to back 150-yard receiving games.
Ooh, 450.
450. So right in the trend with Keenan's, 3-game stretch for Patrick Mahomes. I got a wild 3-game stretch for Amon-Ra, especially with all the dome games they have. I think he's going to put up some insane yardage. This one's in line with actually one of Tim's. He talked about Derrick Henry 18 touchdowns, which I could kind of see honestly. But I got a Derrick Henry 200-yard game. If you want me to put a bullet on it, like I said with Keenan, because Keenan said 200-yard plus. Let's say 212 for Derrick Henry. So 212 yards rushing. Ooh. Give it 28 carries, something like that. These next two go hand in hand. I like to get bold. I like to get wild. You've heard me talk about the QB situation in Cleveland, just how much of a just insane situation that is just from a starter standpoint. But we've also talked about, especially when they had Huntley, how deep their backup room was. And you guys know me. I'm not necessarily a fan of this QB so much as like I'm fascinated with like how he could be a team leader as a backup, and just his last starting season, which was weirdly phenomenal, also just weird in general with the amount of picks he threw. Of course, I'm talking about Jameis Winston, the God. Last time we seen him start, it was 35,000. That's iconic in my book. So I got him filling in one game, maybe a couple games for Deshaun Watson, whether it's injury or otherwise. 5 touchdown game for Jameis Winston. It's my third bold prediction. My fourth bold prediction is originally it was a 7 interception game from any backup. But I said, hey, you know what? Jameis is known for throwing picks, throwing pick sixes. 7 picks in a game also for Jameis Winston. Let's make them back-to-back weeks. Let's give him 5 touchdowns in one week, and then the next week he comes with 7 picks. You never know with Jameis. Trick or treat, Jameis. You never know what's going to happen. So, yeah, Jameis got more run in my bold predictions than I ever thought. So that's 4. My 5th one, I went outside the box last year, and I predicted, sadly this did not come true, that we would have a bench-clearing brawl because we haven't had a good one in the NFL probably for at least a decade, not close to it. Fellas, I think we can agree Tyreek Hill, most explosive player on the field in the NFL. We in agreement there?
Yeah.
I think we can also agree most explosive player off the field is Tyreek Hill, if you've kept track of his sons and daughters record out there. I've actually got, before the season ends, 2 more babies for Tyreek Hill by 2 more baby mamas for Tyreek Hill. He's putting up them Nick Cannon numbers. So that's what I got. Before Super Bowl Sunday, we will be aware of 2 more kids for Tyreek Hill, 2 more baby mothers. Again, dude is explosive on the field, and my boy is more than explosive off the field. But he's got the NFL money to pay for it, apparently. So, but yeah, that's prediction number 5.
It's one of the most random things I've ever heard in my entire life.
I always like to try to throw one in. I always like to try to throw one in that, kind of like Tim. Tim had the one off the field with Dak, eventually leaving free agency. This one happens to be with Tyreek's, personal life, I guess.
Cortez?
Yeah, Tyrell Cortez. Shouts to Tyrell. But
shout out to Tyrell.
Yeah, Tyreek. I mean, we've just seen his historic numbers from him off the field. Nothing we would want to be a part of, probably like 15 kids. But hey, Tyreek apparently has the means for it. So
hey, shout out to Tyreek Hill, and shout out to those 15 predictions. That was a wide range. You got quarterbacks, you've got kids, you've got a lot here. Right? We got free agency even next season. So I like it. I like it all.
A lot of yardage.
A lot of yards. And we're going to move right now into the NFL awards. We know one award already, and you can kind of foreshadow a couple from these bold predictions. But we're going to start with Comeback Player of the Year. Timmy, it's on you. Who do you think is going to be the Comeback Player of the Year this year?
This year, I'm going to go biased. It'll be Daniel Jones. He will return to how he played 2 years ago in the playoff win, and that'll be enough to win it. I was looking at it. There's really not a whole lot of guys on this list. I mean, you got Nick Chubb. I think there's a good chance that he just doesn't play enough games to really see it. But then again, Joe Flacco won it with only playing like 5 games, so could totally see it. He was my honorable mention, but I think Danny Dimes.
No Cousins, no Rodgers?
Nope. Danny Dimes.
Okay. Kyle, how about you?
You have my 8 and 9. Oh, my Comeback Player of the Year. I mean, Keenan just kind of alluded to it. I really do feel like this is a Aaron Rodgers versus Kirk Cousins award. And when push comes to shove, who do you think they're going to want to give that award to? So this is hella boring. I've got Aaron Rodgers. I don't like it. I don't love it. Not even a little bit. But I think ultimately it comes down to one of those two. Kind of like last year when it was for sure going to be Damar Hamlin no matter what. By the way, shouts to Damar Hamlin because he's apparently the starting safety week 1. So shouts to him. But
good for him.
Yeah, I mean, if you heard the AFC East prediction show, I got Rodgers and the Jets taking the AFC East. So by default, and maybe, who knows, maybe it'll be Comeback Player of the Year between the two, having the same injury. I have the Falcons, I think like we all do. We all have the Falcons winning the division. So maybe they say, hey, you guys both won the division. You both won some games. Comeback Player of the Year. But I think push comes to shove, they give the edge to Rodgers because he's Aaron Rodgers. So that's what I got. Boring, but
I have it the other way around, actually. I have it being Kirk Cousins. I mean, one part is I don't have the Jets in the playoffs. I have them just barely missing.
true.
And I do have the Falcons in the playoffs. And then I do think that Kirk Cousins will have I think Kirk Cousins might have a slightly better season than Aaron Rodgers. Not that that's saying a lot, but I think both of them are obviously very good quarterbacks when healthy. So I got Kirk Cousins. It could be Aaron Rodgers. Timmy, if it's Daniel Jones, wow, but it could be whatever. All right.
Like I said, we literally saw Joe Flacco win it by playing 5 games.
True. That's very true.
We do have a stronger cast this year. At least there are 2 quarterbacks with Achilles injuries that were at least great at one point in their career. So,
alrighty. We're going to go with the Defensive Rookie of the Year.
I have Jared Verse for the Los Angeles Rams. I think this guy's very slept on. He was one of the main reasons why Florida State's defense was so good last year, and they ended up getting him way late with the Falcons taking a quarterback instead of taking a defensive piece. That kind of just pushed him down the board, and he fell into their lap in like the 20s. That's incredible value for them. I have Jared Verse filling in for the retired Aaron Donald, at least getting him some sacks from the edge position.
That would be quite the replacement. That's for sure.
All right, Kyle, how about you?
I'm actually going with defensive tackle Byron Murphy, the second of the Seahawks. No real reason other than I got a Seahawks resurgence. They kind of stole him in the draft. He kind of fell to them. And, him under Mike McDonald, I think he'll be the star of that defense. And, yeah, that's really all I got. I'm not Mr. College Football, but if we're talking narratives, I think he has, puts up good numbers, good enough to win, obviously, Rookie of the Year. And I think that defense will be much improved, and he will be one of the stars of the defense.
Okay. And I share the same sentiments as Timmy. I have Jared Verse as well. I think that he's going to have a big impact on the Rams this season. I think he's going to be one of the reasons why the Rams defense doesn't completely fall apart without Aaron Donald. Obviously, Aaron Donald's been the centerpiece for the last decade, so it's going to be different there. Not that he's going to have Aaron Donald impact because he's not the greatest interior defender of all time, but I think he's going to be able to kind of fill in a piece of what Aaron Donald was to the Los Angeles Rams and be a part of the reason why I have them winning the division. So I got Jared first. And we will head straight into Offensive Player of the Year. Offensive Rookie of the Year. And Timmy, what do you think that Offensive Rookie, or who do you think that will be?
I got a feeling I'm just going to speak for all 3 of us and say Marvin Harrison will be the Offensive Rookie of the Year this year. I think he's going to be phenomenal. He could probably finish as a top 10 wide receiver already. He's that talented. So Marvin Harrison Jr., pencil him in.
Kyle, how about you?
When you're taking notes and you just put the quotes underneath something that you want to repeat, you can just put the quotes for me, because exactly what Tim just said. And I have a feeling, Keenan, like Tim said, I think you will be in agreement with us. So I think it's a 3-way sweep right here with Marvin Harrison Jr.
I actually am not.
Incredible. He's going to be.
He's got Bo Nix.
I am actually not. I'm going with Caleb
Williams, huh?
I think here's the thing. I think a lot of things are quarterback awards. I think Marvin's going to be great. I think Caleb's also going to be really good, and that's why he's going to get the edge there. I think Marvin's going. Because here's the thing: the Bears are going. I have the Bears 10-7 and in the playoffs. And if the Bears make the playoffs, that means Caleb Williams has had arguably the greatest season in Bears history. And if that's the case, he's going to be the Rookie of the Year, even though Marvin's going to have a season where it's probably 12, 15, like 9 touchdowns at least.
Give us the stat range that would beat that.
4,200 yards, 29 touchdowns, 8 picks, leading the team to a 10-7.
Under 10
be roughly
picks.
Around that.
Under
I was going to say, I think It could be 8-12. It could be over. I would say I'm going to say 29-8.
Damn.
I think he's going to take care of the ball a little better than we think.
So immediate top 10 guy?
He's going to be in that conversation, yeah. He's going to be right there with the other kind of guys around the conversation. He's going to be what's advertised. I mean, by the end of the season, he should be, if he's what is advertised, he should be around that conversation.
Sure.
I mean, C.J. Stroud is around top 6, top 5 conversation after his last season. And he should be what C.J. Stroud was last year, at least 98% of it for what we're getting sold. So. And what we've seen, like he's looked really good so far. Obviously, it's been the preseason, so we'll see. Alrighty, defensive player of the year, Timmy, you go.
This year, I like to switch it up. I still have a defensive end winning it, but I have Max Crosby winning it. You guys know I'm pretty high on the Raiders. I think this defense is going to be one of the better defenses in the league, and it's going to be led by Max Crosby. He's going to be a monster like he usually is. And if they're a game or two out from the playoffs and this defense is the reason why they're getting there, I think that they can definitely give him this award and not need to give it to somebody else on a more winning football team. So
I agree. I agree that like at 8 and 9 or like even 7 and 10, if you're that standout, you can win the defensive player of the year. Kyle,
most definitely. I mean, much like we say, MVP is a QB award, which if you followed the show, I find that extremely annoying. I think Defensive Player of the Year is a pass rushers award. Unless you have an extraordinary year at middle linebacker or defensive back, it's often the defensive lineman's award to lose. So I'm actually picking the same guys I picked last year. I honestly think between Max Crosby, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, and Micah Parsons, you can kind of just cycle through those 4 each year if you want to pick them, and you're honestly going to be pretty safe. So I'm picking the same guys I picked last year, which is lame as hell, and that's Micah Parsons. But it's going to happen one of these years. It's just a matter of which year. And then the years he doesn't get it, it's probably going to be Max Crosby, or it's probably going to be Myles Garrett again, or it's probably going to be TJ Watt again. So no Aaron Donald thrown there anymore, obviously. So I think those 4, safe to say, are going to be cream of the crop for a while.
So we've got Micah Parsons for Kyle. And I got Aiden Hutchinson. I think he's going to take that leap into being in that conversation, as you just said.
Stack a game type leap.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think towards the second half of last season, we saw what kind of impact he could have on games. It was not just even the sacks. He had 2 sack games. He had 3 sack games. It was the pressures that he was putting on the quarterback. It was you had to slide 2 to him, but he was still making impacts. He was still getting tackled for losses. So, I think that he's going to take that leap. And now, when, as Kyle, as you were saying, just replace Aaron Donald with Aiden Hutchinson. That conversation is going to be there when we're talking Max Crosby, no order, Max Crosby, Aiden Hutchinson, Micah Parsons, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett. I think those are going to be your 5 guys that you talk about, and then from there on, you have your conversation. Alrighty, Offensive Player of the Year. Timmy's on you.
This one was tough. Originally, I had Dak Prescott here, but Offensive Player of the Year is not really a QB award. This is kind of the consolidation award for whichever outstanding skill position player did not win MVP. And because of that, I have switched it to Jamar Chase. I think this is the year that he finishes as the overall wide receiver 1, and he proves why he's worth every dime of the contract that he wants. They got to pay the man. I don't understand it. Every month that they kick the can down the road, his contract goes up. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It's one of that thing like CD. If you just paid CD Lamb last year, you can just save a bunch of money. At some point, you knew this guy was going to be really good. Like, why are we waiting on it? Kind of thing. I don't know. It's me. Kyle, you.
Well, you heard me in my bold predictions talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown back-to-back 150-yard games. And you've heard me talk about the Lions' schedule and how they have 14 dome games. So,
Caitlin Clark just got a triple-double, I believe.
Did she? Shouts to Caitlin Clark.
Yes, she just got her 10th rebound. She had 24, 10, and 10.
So,
sorry.
No, you're good. So going along with that, You can actually call this my 6 bowl prediction. Forget anything I just said. I got Marvin Harrison not only winning Offensive Rookie of the Year, but Offensive Player of the Year too. So, little surprise there. 6 bowl prediction. Double Offensive Player of the Year for Marvin Harrison Jr. Not sure if that's been done before. If it has, he'd probably be second in that category. But if not, first one to do it.
I would love that with all my heart. I am such a fan of Marvin Harrison Jr. But it's Ja'Marr Chase. It's going to be Ja'Marr Chase. Again, 200 yards in game 1. He's just going to go from there. I think Ja'Marr Chase is going to have himself a phenomenal season. Coach of the Year. Timmy, are you?
This one could go any sorts of ways. We saw it last year. Nobody was expecting the Texans to be that good, but then people were arguing that Stefanski should have won it, and it is just such a tough award. I have Jonathan Gannon. Me and Keenan are both pretty high on the Cardinals, and to go from 4 wins last year, all the way up to double-digit wins and potentially being a playoff team. I think that they're going to give it to Jonathan Gannon for turning the team around.
Okay. Kyle, what about you?
Hey, if you've been listening to the predictions pod, you know where I'm leaning with this. I think it's John Harbaugh's award to lose, honestly. The way the Chargers schedule is set up, him taking
John or Jim?
Jim, my fault. Jim Harbaugh.
Okay. No, you're good.
Jim Harbaugh. It's his award to lose. Chargers have an easy schedule. This is what he does. He turns programs around. Obviously Sean Payton could get this if they were to have a good season. Obviously, Antonio Pierce could get this with the Raiders. Jonathan Gannon, like he said, you got natural candidates for this. And obviously, what's his name? And Raheem Morris in Atlanta. He's another one that could easily walk into this. But ultimately, I think it's Harbaugh's award to lose.
Okay. And me, Timmy probably would have this maybe as the second guy. I have Sean McVay. I think that with the Rams winning the division over the 49ers, that's not something that everybody is predicting. A lot of people obviously like the 49ers, but people do like the Rams. Don't get me wrong. People think that they're ahead of schedule for what they should have been. Their last year should have been probably this year.
A lot of Rams.
And people this year think that they could.
A lot of Rams.
Yeah, no, there is, and I think it's because they got ahead of schedule. Because last year, not going into the season, none of us were really high on the Rams. It was one of those things where Sean McVay, Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, because we didn't know about Puka like we do now, is okay, they could probably get you to 6-ish wins, 7 wins, and they got you to a playoff game, and they got you to a tough loss against a team that we all feel could go to a Super Bowl this year. We'll definitely get to where we think they can get to here shortly. But I think that with the Rams being able to take that next leap if they win the division, I think they will, Sean McVay definitely deserves it. And I also think too that sometimes with Coach of the Year, I know we give it to the team that's that does get the most wins, kind of total like that. But I feel sometimes we need to award these really good coaches. Not that he hasn't been awarded, but I think we just need to award these really good coaches. I think he's the most slept on. Not even underrated, because I think people know he's great.
Yeah.
I just think he's slept on, where you forget about him. You talk Kyle Shanahan, you talk Andy Reid, you talk John Harbaugh. You were going to be talking Jim Harbaugh. You don't always bring up Sean McVay's name in these conversations, but he deserves to be.
Yeah, that's always the case with any sort of Coach of the Year. It always defaults to the guy who turns the program around, but we often leave out the guy who does the best coaching job. And that was really my case for Stefanski last year with all the quarterbacks they went through. And all the changes they had, that's why I thought Stefanski should have got it. But, reasonably so, why he didn't get it, I guess, But I always try to prefer the guy who does the best coaching job, whether it's NBA or NFL.
Yeah.
I would say MLB, but we don't mention that shit. So
I agree. All right, so Timmy, we know that your MVP is Jared Goff. Is there anything else you'd like to say on Jared Goff, unless you have a pump fake and he's not actually your MVP?
4,400 passing yards, 41 touchdowns, 11 picks. That's my stat line.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, Kyle said he's going for 3 straight $150s. That would be in the cards, and Amon-Ra might win you Offensive Player of the Year if that's going to happen.
I think Amon-Ra is going to be heavily involved. Laporta's potentially double-digit touchdowns again. Jameer out of the backfield could see 6 or 7 of them. And I think Jameson Williams is finally going to break onto the scene and show us why he was a first-round pick.
Hey, we saw it first first drive of the NFC Championship game, the speed and kind of things that he can got. If we can get those kind of explosive plays from him and really got a guy who takes the entire top off the defense, you can get Sam Laporta underneath, you can get Amon-Ra underneath, you get Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield, David Montgomery change of pace, the offensive line. So yeah.
Hey Tim, with these 14 dome games out of 17, I don't see any reason why he couldn't push for 5,000. So I mean, he's going to have a real shot at it this year, like completely.
Totally agree.
But going off of that, I almost picked Jared Goff, but like I can't picture it. I literally cannot picture it. Just like I couldn't picture Dak Prescott being MVP last year. Like once that started getting talk, I was like, what kind of year are we having that Dak Prescott is the leading candidate? And I don't know. I just feel like, unfortunately, and I could be wrong, but I feel like writers would vote for a bigger face or, a more recognizable face than Jared Goff, more recognizable name when it comes to the NFL, I guess. I actually picked Josh Allen really strictly for that reason. I think he'll have good numbers, potentially great numbers. I think actually we're going to get a year much like last year, where it's like a somebody's got to win it type of MVP. But I got to agree with Tim. Like I truly think like it's almost Jared Goff's to lose. If they win 12 games, he's going to put up monster numbers. That I keep mentioning it, but those 14 dome games, like that's literally arena football, and they've got the offense suited perfectly for that. So, I mean, I would recommend people bet on Jared Goff to win MVP. I really would, because I think it's like at least a 50% chance. I really do. Unless he gets injured, like there's no reason why he shouldn't be in the running. He's going to have as good as numbers as anyone. They're going to throw the ball, and they're going to win games. And if they don't, okay, then he's not going to be in it. But he's at least going to be a top 4.
So I agree that I think Jared Goff could be top 4. In my top 4, no order for the other 3, I would have Joe Burrow, I'd have Josh Allen, I would have Jared Goff preseason wise. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to just easily take this award. I truly, I get what you guys are saying about Jared Goff. The weapons, the offensive line, the offensive coordinator, the locations of all of his games. I completely understand it, and it makes perfect sense. There's just something I think Patrick Mahomes is coming out with, like on a mission to 1, three-peat, and 2, to just go. Like, also, I think little things like him being 4th on the best players in the league list, I think that ticks you off. Like, those are the little things that you need as, like, great guys like that. I think the players being like, oh, there's 3 guys better than me? Are we sure? Like, little things like that. And last year, I didn't really have fun last year, even though we got the Super Bowl. We had to dink and dunk. We had to play safe. I had to throw the ball away more and just make smart decisions rather than the first year where it was fireworks, even though they didn't win the Super Bowl. But the 50 touchdowns, 12 picks, though. But, like, just throwing it all over the lot. One of the greatest seasons we've ever seen. I think he's going to rival those numbers. I think this is Patrick Mahomes, and it might not be close, to be quite honest with you.
You make a compelling case. I mean, he's certainly going to be top 4 too. Like, their offense is going to be better. They had so many drops last year and so many miscues. Like, it's not going to happen this year. They should be more.
You got to regress to the mean. It's like the Vikings when they had like 11 or 12 really close wins. You're like, when they had like 3-point wins or whatever within 3 points or 1 score, they had like 11 wins. You're like, okay, that's not happening every year. It's going to regress to 5 or 6. And then obviously the record goes down. Like, you can't have that many drops every season. Like, it's going to regress to these guys can at least catch a ball.
True story. True story.
Alrighty. Well, do we have... I mean, we're in the playoffs, and I know we have our championship games and everything. Do we have at least our 7 playoff teams? Like, do you guys have that line? Because, I mean, I have my entire bracket. to where, like, obviously I know who's beating who and who's lining up where. But, like, do you guys have the 7 playoff teams?
Technically,
I
yes.
have my 7, and then I have my championship Sunday and my Super Bowl Sunday.
Okay.
Likewise.
Alrighty. So, Timmy, who are your 7 playoff teams in the AFC?
As the number 1 seed, I have the Baltimore Ravens. The 2 seed is the Buffalo Bills. The 3 seed is the Kansas City Chiefs. And the 4 seed is the Houston Texans. The 5 seed is the Bengals. 6 is the Dolphins. And 7 is the Jets.
Ooh, so I like it. So you have Buffalo. Do you have the Jets going to Buffalo? You have Miami going back to KC, going back to the scene of the crime, and then you're having Cincinnati head to Houston and maybe a rematch of that shootout they had last year, which was really fun. Okay. Kyle, what about your 7 AFC teams?
So we talked about it, I think, pre-show last time, and I was kind of upset how it played out because my lowest seed still has 10 wins, and I feel like that's not really realistic. I think it ended up that way last year, but I feel like more often than not, your 7th seed is going to be 9-8 or even 8-9, depending on the year. So I have tons of 10-7 teams. I don't have seeding for you. I'll have my championship games, but I'll tell you this. My 2 11-win teams in the AFC are the Jets and the Chiefs. I'm going to give the nod to the Jets just for the purpose that they never win anything. So the Jets are somehow my 1 seed. We're going to call the Chiefs the 2 seed. And then I got the Bills in there at 10-7. Got the Ravens in there at 10-7. Oh, sorry, I got the Bengals at 11-6 as well. So they're in the running. But we'll say, for the sake of argument, Jets got the 1st seed. So Bengals, Ravens in there, Chiefs, Bills, and then I got the Chargers in there as well. And then the Texans win the AFC South. And then I got the Jaguars being the odd man out, also at 10-7. And then Doug Peterson getting fired from that. So,
Okay. I am. So you had the Jets, the Chiefs, the Bengals, Ravens, Texans, Buffalo.
you got it.
Who? What was the 6th?
Chargers.
Chargers. All right. How I wrote this down in an all assumption was we have the 2 seed KC seeing the Chargers at the 7, Cincy at the 3 seed seeing Baltimore as the 6 seed, Houston as the 4 seed seeing Buffalo as the 5 seed.
Sounds good.
That is how I wrote it down. Just off. Obviously, it could be any combination.
Tons of
That's how we
tiebreakers.
wrote it down.
Like a record worth of tiebreakers right there because everyone's either 11-6 or 10-7. So.
Yep, that's how it's going. That's how Kyle thinks.
And
that means every team's playing week 17 or week 18.
Yeah.
That's good football.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's usually when I do my predictions, I try to get it between like I try to get my really good teams at 10, and I feel like most fall between 6 and 10, and then like if you're like elite, you get to 11 or 12. But so I feel like I over forecasted both conferences, honestly. But go ahead.
My 1 seed, I've got KC. My 2 seed, I got Cincinnati. My 3 seed, I've got Houston. My 4th seed, I got Buffalo. My 5th seed, I've got Baltimore. My 6th seed, I've got Jacksonville. My 7th seed, I've got Miami. So I've got Miami heading to Cincinnati, Jacksonville headed to Houston in a division bout, and Baltimore heading to Buffalo, which would be a phenomenal week 1. Or wild card.
Sign me up.
All righty, Timmy, NFC.
All right. As my 1 seed, I have the Los Angeles Rams. My 2 seed is the Detroit Lions. My 3 seed is the Philadelphia Eagles. My 4 seed is the Atlanta Falcons. My 5 seed is the Cardinals. 6 Green Bay Packers and 7 Dallas Cowboys.
So we got Dallas heading to Detroit. We got Green Bay heading to Philly, rematch of the South America. I almost said Ireland because I was thinking Florida State, the Brazil game. Speaking of Florida State, my God, they need to do something. Jeez. Anyways, and then we got Arizona heading to Atlanta, which, okay, was this the mid-2010s? The early to mid-2010s? Not hey, it could happen. I'm just saying, like, if I saw that, I'm thinking it's Kurt Warner maybe on the roster and Matt Ryan going at it for a dueling. But hey, I like it. All right, Kyle, what about you?
Again, not seeded. You can seed these how you want. I was way too nice with my predictions this year. This is hilarious, though. I got both out of the NFC North, two 12-5 teams. I got the Packers going 12-5 as well. But I got the Lions as my 1 seed. Packers will call the 2 seed. Or I guess they can't even they can't get
They'd be the 5 seed.
It'd still somehow be the 5 at 12 wins. I got the Eagles winning the NFC East at 11-6. I got the Niners winning the West at 11-6. So whichever one you want to choose to be the 2 seed there. Let's go with the Eagles, actually, because they got the lighter schedule. So Eagles 2 seed, Niners.
That's what I wrote down.
Word. We got the Cowboys getting a wild card spot, Seahawks getting a wild card spot, and aforementioned Packers getting the wild card spot, and then the Falcons winning the NFC South.
Okay, and because I want to have fun with this a little bit, we have Dallas heading to Philly, Seattle heading to San Fran, and Green Bay heading to Atlanta.
Sounds glorious to me.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got Detroit as the 1 seed. I've got the Rams as the 2 seed. I've got the Eagles as the 3 seed. I've got Atlanta as the 4 seed. At my 5 seed, I've got the 49ers. At the 6 seed, I've got the Green Bay Packers. At my 7 seed, I've got the Chicago Bears. So we got the Bears heading to the Rams. We got the Packers heading to the Eagles. We got the 49ers heading to Atlanta. And this is where it gets interesting for all of us. Alrighty, Timmy. If you want to say how people get there, because I'm probably going to breeze through it real quick, but give us your conference championship game.
So I don't have my bracket, so I'll give you the 2 teams. I have Kansas City versus Cincinnati. A repeat of a few years ago.
Alrighty, so we've got that. The only thing I'm questioning, does Buffalo beat New York, or do you have New York beating Buffalo? It's the only question I have.
I believe I have Buffalo beating New York in round 1.
Alrighty. That would be fun, because then in the second round you'd have Cincinnati heading to Buffalo, you'd have KC and Buffalo. You'd have KC and Buffalo and Cincinnati heading to Baltimore. So
who you got on the NFC
fun.
side?
Go NFC as well, yes.
On the NFC side, I have the Detroit Lions versus the Los Angeles Rams.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh.
Rematch.
So, and
Rematch
then
of
we
the first
got
round
the
game
Detroit.
Yeah.
We got the Detroit Lions winning, and then I'm assuming. Do you have the Cardinals to the second round?
I did.
Oh. And then do we have the Eagles or Packers?
Matchup. I believe the Eagles beating the Packers.
All right. So we've got the Cardinals heading to the Rams, and then we've got Philly heading to Detroit. I love it. And then we've got Detroit, and we got the Rams there. I love it. Okay. So. Kyle, what about you? What is your AFC championship game?
First, let me kind of cut to the chase here. If you would have asked me 2 or 3 weeks ago, I would have had the Packers winning it all. And I cannot get there. I just cannot get there. I know you asked for my AFC, but let me give you my NFC side, just going off of that.
Okay.
I'm now all in on the Lions in a way I was not expecting 2 weeks ago. So I got the Lions hosting the Eagles in the NFC Championship game. And then if you want, you can call this my 7th bowl prediction. My AFC Championship game will be the Ravens hosting the Buffalo Bills. Chiefs don't even get to the championship game. I half believe that. Let me make the case for the Chiefs. We talk about Super Bowl hangover. And when we've been talking about that, we've been discussing it mainly on the side of the Niners. We haven't mentioned it with the Chiefs. When this happens in the NBA, when teams are going for a three-peat, it's often just a brutal, dramatic season. Like no matter what, whether it's the Lakers, whether it's the Bulls, Warriors, like it just ends up being a grind of the season. The Chiefs, somehow to me, they do have a tough schedule, like as far as tough teams. But I think the way it breaks, it's kind of an easy schedule, especially with how their division is. So it would be hard for them not to make the playoffs. So I think when it does fall apart, it'll be in the playoffs. Again, I half believe this. If you were asking me to put money on this, I would say the Chiefs make it to Championship Sunday. But for entertainment purposes and for just the how hard it is to three-peat purposes, I have them losing in the divisional round, we'll say, to somebody. Don't know who. But, yeah, I got Ravens. It'll obviously be either the Ravens or the Bills. But that's my Championship Sunday. New blood in the AFC Championship game. And, yeah, one of those two quarterbacks will be making their first Super Bowl appearance.
Alrighty, in the AFC, I'm just going to quickly go through everything. I have Buffalo over Baltimore. I have Houston over Jacksonville. I have Cincinnati over Miami. I then have Cincinnati over Houston. I have KC over Buffalo, and then that leads us to KC and Cincinnati in a trilogy. And then on the NFC side, I have got Atlanta over the San Francisco 49ers. I have the San Francisco 49ers not winning a playoff game. I've got Green Bay over the Philadelphia Eagles, and then I've got the Chicago Bears over the Los Angeles Rams. I've got the Detroit Lions beating the Chicago Bears. I have the Green Bay Packers beating the Atlanta Falcons. So we get to the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers in an NFC North showdown to go to the Super Bowl.
All right, hit us with it. Who's playing on Super
Sunday? And then I have Detroit and Cincinnati in the Super Bowl. And who I have winning at the moment, I'm pausing because I have no idea. Man, oh man! Thinking of Joe Burrow being 0-2 in a Super Bowl is like I don't think so. It's in Louisiana, as I've said. I think that actually matters. He's on a mission. The team's on a mission. They have everything they need, and they have an easy schedule. But I also think this Detroit Lions team is a powerhouse. So. I don't know. We'll come back to it.
Let me go off of that because, as I just said, I had the Packers winning probably as of 2 weeks ago. Like, that's where I was leaning. I think this year more than any other year, I have no idea. Like, you can make a case. I feel like you can make a case for 6 to 10 teams each year to make the Super Bowl or even win it. But this year, truly, like, if you told me the Bills went out and won it, if you told me the Bengals, the Chiefs three-peat, if you told me the Ravens, obviously.
The Jets catch lightning in the bottle. The Houston Texans, maybe.
Jets, Texans, Packers on the NFC, Lions, obviously, Eagles, Niners again. Any one of the there's so many teams, and all of them have narratives. If you're a narrative guy, all of them have narratives you can talk yourself into. So I didn't even have Championship Sunday as of a couple hours ago. I really didn't, which is why I got kind of a wacky one with the Bills and the Ravens because I'm like, let's switch it up here. But man, there's so many teams. And again, I feel like there's about 8 teams each year you can talk yourself into, but I feel less confident in any team this year on either side of the bracket. I honestly kind of feel like it's the Lions to lose to some degree, just how their team's set up, but it's still the Lions. And I almost kind of like the Packers team a little more than the Lions, but I feel like they have a lot of question marks too. So I completely agree with you, Keenan. I had no idea, like as of 2 hours ago, who I'm picking. I obviously do have a winner now. Tim, how do you feel about this when you analyze the field?
I pretty much echo exactly what you say. There's a lot of teams that are ready to win it. I don't think it's just like one tier of 4 teams that could do it. I think there are like 8 teams that could run the table and make it all the way. I eventually came down. Kyle, you actually said it the other day when we were recording. I've got the Lions versus the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, a repeat of last year's season opener. I think right now I'm leaning the Chiefs, but I'm obviously going to be rooting for the Lions to win it all. It would be just an amazing story to see. So,
which would lead to them having
Kyle,
17. That would have them with 17 dome games, by the way. That goes. What's my Super Bowl?
Mm-hmm.
I've got the Lions and the Ravens.
Okay. So we got the Lions and we've got the Ravens.
Let me just give it to you right now.
And Timmy.
Let me just give it to you
right
now. Let's
go on, Kyle.
Just break the ice here when it comes to winners. Lamar's getting the monkey off his back. They're breaking the Lions' heart. The Lions can't have anything nice. They're going to get all the way there. They're going to lose by 3 to the Ravens. I got Lamar in a pretty generic game, winning MVP. 3 total touchdowns, 88 yards on the ground, 1 touchdown on the ground, 242 through the air with 2 touchdowns. So pretty generic, good game all around. That's what I got. And actually, we'll have a follow-up question to the Super Bowl after we conclude.
All right, Timmy, you go.
I'll take the Chiefs. I think they three-peat. I think they do the impossible.
3P.
Patrick Mahomes, MVP again. Hard to give it to anybody else. But I think it's likely that he's right around 3 passing touchdowns. No picks. He's going to be very precise. And they're just going to win this one outright. Andy Reid going to put on a clinic for his 3rd Super Bowl.
What was the score?
And we all have an AFC team winning the Super Bowl over the Detroit Lions. I don't think Joe Burrow drops to 0-2. I can't do it.
Second year in a row, you're all in on Cincy. Right?
Last year, legitimately what got me was, I had it, and then the second he got injured, I was a little bothered. I just kept what I had, but I mentioned even last year that the injury bothered me a little bit because of the fact that he didn't have a full preseason of being there with his team. The fact that he is there, I think this is also their last real shot before they have to retool. I think he's going to have real shots again, of course.
Sure.
Like, obviously, like Josh Allen right now, I think always has a shot because it's Josh Allen, but they're in a little bit of a retool mode, but they're going to be naturally good because it's Josh Allen. I think this is his last year. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. You still, obviously, the run game's not the same, but Zach Moss and Chase Brown are going to be enough. You've still got the ends, Hubbard, Hendrickson. Like, they've got enough there in pretty much this last iteration of what we've known the Bengals to be. So this is their year. They get it this year, or they might have to wait a couple.
I'm going to give you a real case for the Ravens. Though they lost Mike McDonald, I do believe the addition of Derrick Henry is going to be huge. I know Tim's got him for 800 yards, which there is a world where that happens. But I actually do think it's going to be, I want to say a bounce back year, because if you look at Derrick Henry's numbers, they've been pretty good, even since his 2K season. But I think they're going to be relying on him quite a bit early. We know these early games have a lot to do with clock management, not turning the ball over. They're ugly games. And who do you want in a game like that more than Derrick Henry, or a back like Derrick Henry? He's still got some juice, and I really do think he's going to be the guy who puts them over the edge. Whether it's ball control, whether it's just him being able to break 200, like I got my bowl predictions. I think he's got some juice left. I think it's going to add a dynamic to their offense that they haven't had, and it's going to help Lamar get over the top. So hard to bet against the Ravens. I think they have probably the toughest schedule overall. One thing we didn't mention, this is just to throw it out there, and maybe I should save this for when we pick our games, but we talked a lot about schedules. Niners have the worst travel schedule and rest schedule statistically. I don't know, what kind of algorithm they use for that, or, how they calculate that, but the Niners have the toughest rest schedule this year out of anybody in the NFL. So just throwing that out there just for the sake of throwing it out there. But, yeah, I got the Ravens.
Okay. So this is fun. I'm glad. So Kyle, just to recap, Kyle has the Ravens over the Detroit Lions to get Lamar's first Super Bowl. Timmy has the Kansas City Chiefs over the Detroit Lions for the three-peat in his 4th Super Bowl. I have Joe Burrow in the Bengals over the Detroit Lions.
Joe Burrows.
I've got the Joe Shadys over the Detroit Lions for Joe Burrow to win his first Super Bowl. So we all have Detroit representing in coming up short.
We don't have Detroit just losing either. Like, it's got to be, all these are probably close games, so they're all going to be hard.
Oh, absolutely.
I've actually got.
I can't. Go on.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just saying, I can't see this team really getting blown out. Like, they would have, you would have to put a complete hat on Jared Goff, and this line's too good for you to do that the whole game. Not that, obviously, he could have a bad game or whatnot. We've seen it before, but I think for them to get blown out, you would have to put a full hat on, and you'd have to just get home with 4, and it's tough to do.
You didn't ask for the scores here, but I have a pretty generic NFC Championship, like 27-21 Lions. I have a absolute classic of an AFC Championship game, 38-37 Ravens over Bills. So, however that looks.
I have a 35-31 barn burner Bengals over Chiefs in Burrowhead. And I have a Detroit Lions 30-20 win over the Packers. I think it's a really close first half. I think the second half Detroit starts to pull away a little bit.
Give me the Chiefs 28-24 over the Bengals, and then give me the Lions 31-27 over the Rams.
I like how we did our championship game predictions last somehow as far as scores go. But hey, this was the prediction show. Annual Warner Brothas Podcast NFL prediction show. Crazy that within a month here, Keenan, we'll be doing our NBA prediction show. That seems wild to even say. Hope you enjoyed. We will be doing part 2 of this podcast next, which will be the Week 1 NFL picks. Cannot wait. Go back and watch and listen to all of our divisional predictions, NFC East, West, North, and South, AFC East, West, North, and South. Excuse me. Tongue twister there. Yeah, go back and listen. We got plenty of bold takes. We got everything covered. And a lot more digestible this year with breaking up the predictions into 8 different shows damn near. So enjoy, listen back, come back and listen for the Week 1 predictions. Warner Brothas Podcast. We will be back